Okay, we're here. We're here with Eric Teshima. This is our 3 o'clock show. I'm standing in for Alice Lee Hagen, who Eric knows. Okay, and so I'm standing in. I want to find out everything about Eric. The first thing we're going to do is a show and tell. First, say hello, Eric, just please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric Teshima.
And we're going to sort of step through this. You're going to learn a lot about Eric, and in this discussion. But I want to start with the photos. That way, Eric will be under the burden of explaining what is going on with the photos. Okay, let's do some photos. Photo. Okay, what is that?
So I guess a quick introduction of myself. My name is Eric Teshima. I represent a nonprofit organization called ImagineWorks, and actually currently a student at the University of Hawaii as well, studying electrical engineering. And today, I guess we'll do a show and tell on some of the pictures that we have up there. The first picture, I guess, that everybody probably had a glimpse of is actually one of the projects that we're working on as our nonprofit organization in creating a mobile makerspace using a 40-foot shipping container. This shipping container is kind of unique in the sense that it's also off the grid. So it has a 4-kilowatt solar panel system on the rooftop, and it has a 60 kilowatt-hour battery that's on board. So everything on there can be powered by the sun as well.
That's not an illustration. It's a real shipping.
It's a real shipping container that actually
some kind of PV on the roof.
Already exists. So I guess what we're trying to do is, as ImagineWorks, a nonprofit organization, we're trying to create a makerspace, a mobile makerspace for the community. So the children and youth of our community can come and gather to a location to learn 3D printing, laser cutting, and apply different kind of technology to whatever their imagination may be.
Okay, well, a mobile makerspace. Do we actually need a mobile makerspace? What do you use that for?
I believe there's a lot of.
I remember when I was a kid, we used to wait. We used to wait for the Good Humor Man to come around.
I feel like there's a really big need right now.
Are we standing around waiting for the mobile makerspace to come around?
Yeah, I mean, as of now, I feel like there's a popular trend in the makerspace industry. So there's a lot of people starting to acquire 3D printers as they get more affordable. But at the school level, we really see that there's a lot of schools trying to do a little bit of everything all over the place. But in most cases, usually the equipment, unfortunately, gets put into a storage room for 2 years because the teacher doesn't know how to apply it or use it. So we found that there was a need that we need to consolidate some of these equipment and then bring in the professional and the knowledge with the equipment. So the history department, the English department, all the department teachers can apply it in their classroom. And we could really see that there's a big demand for that in the community.
How does it work? I mean, you have to, somebody has to drive it around.
Right, so then the transportation part is unique too, because what we'll do is we'll hire a truck driver and they'll pick it up and they'll transport it all around the island.
And where, for example, would you stop with the mobile makerspace?
Well, as of now, it's kind of grounded on the island of Oahu, so then we have to service the schools in the island of Oahu.
If you want to go to other islands, you have to take a barge.
Maybe resurrect the super ferry or
one for every island, maybe,
or create one for every island. I guess our long-term goal or vision for ImagineWorks is we wanted to create something kind of like the YMCA. So right now, the current YMCA is kind of a place where parents send their children to go after school until they're off from work. And then usually the kids ends up staying in the cafeteria doing homework or going out in the field playing kickball. But instead we wanted to create a place where they can come and do hands-on learning activities after school.
Cool idea.
And during school, we'll service different public schools and different schools to bring these equipment and knowledge to the teachers. So the history teacher, for example, can use the CNC router to cut styrofoam boards to make the topography of the Hawaiian Islands or the topography of the ocean. And they can apply it in the history class. But before then, a history teacher had no use for a CNC router or a 3D printer or had no idea where to start. And I think that's what we want to start to change. We want to change that culture that the technology and the robotics is all just for the science geeks or the math department. But I really believe that we can really change that
So
culture.
What's in the makerspace? I mean, you have a router, what else?
So some of the equipment that we're planning to get, it's actually, we kind of just started off the ground. So we have maybe some of little bit of everything right now still, and we're trying to
So what's
still
your
gather
aspiration?
everything. But
Your wish list, as it were.
right, the majority of the stuff that we're planning to put inside is, of course, the 3D printings, 3D printers, but also laser cutters. It's a CNC laser router, CNC routers, and there's a whole list of things that goes on and on. And these
What's
are,
this?
that image actually is one of the 3D printers that we actually do have right now. And
It looks like a very serious piece of gear.
these are actually very affordable. This one is actually sold on Amazon right now for about $1,000 to $2,000. So
Yeah.
3D printing has become a lot more affordable.
What kind of medium, though, can you use for a printer like the one we're looking at?
This one uses...
Will it do steel?
Actually, this one is all plastic. So this one is specifically the ABS plastic. What it does is it melts the plastic filament, which you actually see on the left side of the screen, of different color. And it melts it and I guess layers it to the 3D object.
So you put the plastic, solid plastic in, it melts it, it changes the color of the basic solid plastic,
right,
and then it makes layers until you have an object.
until you have a 3D
That's very
object.
sophisticated.
So 3D printing technology has has evolved a lot within the last 10 years or so. And there's all kinds of different methods. There's 3D printing using plastic. There's 3D printing using powder that solidifies into plastic.
Very hard plastic.
Right,
Yeah.
and then in the more industrial level, they have 3D printers that powderizes metal and prints in metal as well. So there's a lot of technology out there, but for our cases, we're using it for a lot more educational purposes, and we found that the affordable printers are actually the ones that works best for these students.
Interesting. Amazon, huh?
Right, Amazon's starting to sell 3D.
Have you ever seen the setup in Iolani in the Sullivan Center?
Yes, so the Sullivan Center is a very beautiful, I actually had the tour there about 3 or 4 times already. So I am familiar with the Sullivan Center. It's a multi-million-dollar tech facility, basically.
Yeah, the
for
ground
students
floor
of-
is the workshop area where
Right.
they have all this kind of stuff.
So I guess what we're trying to do is we're trying to mimic what the Sullivan Center already has, but in a more compact, mobile kind of way, and not just to service the students of one school, but then that we can service the entire community as a whole by making it more mobile and accessible.
Kalani didn't have all that stuff they have in Iolani, huh?
No, I don't think none of the public schools currently has. But unfortunately, I feel that even if a public school were to have a Sullivan Center, it wouldn't have the same impact that it does at Iolani. And the reason for that is because it's not just facility and equipment that's important. It's really the staffing and the knowledge behind that goes behind it. Or else we'll have a Sullivan Center that sits in a Department of Education closet for the next 10 years before it gets applied and reused. So we feel like there was a quick need to service the students of the community by having an accessible mobile facility where it's not tied down to just one
It's
school.
really a
but
very
it
noble
really
idea
affects,
that you have. This is your idea, isn't it, Eric?
It is part of my idea. A lot of it also comes from a lot of the students and teachers from the robotics community that I was involved in for a very long time during my years at Kalani High School.
With a 3D printer, you can make parts of robotics, can't you?
Right, 3D printers is a really great tool to use because it allows for rapid prototyping, especially in a landscape like robotics where we have 1 month to complete a robot. We often use tools like 3D printer to test out a part in hours versus it would have taken weeks if we went with the traditional route.
Did you win in the competition on the robotics?
Of course, we
Of course you did. We knew that. No issue there.
Our robotics team at Kalani High School, we've been doing very well in the last 7 years. We've traveled all over the world. We just went to Australia last year, and we actually won in Australia. The team is doing pretty well still. But actually, one of the other reasons why we created this nonprofit organization was to act kind of as a booster club for the robotics team at Kalani, and also hopefully a booster club for future robotics team in the East Oahu area.
Yeah, and for schools and kids in general. There's schools and kids that don't necessarily have access to places like the Sullivan Center.
Right,
Yeah.
so I mean, oftentimes at Kalani High School, we also have these robotics academies that we do during the breaks, during the spring break, the fall break, summer break. And often we have 60 students sign up just like that over the week. And a lot of these students are people that couldn't join the robotics team at their school or is homeschooled, so is associated with a school for a robotics team.
Yeah.
And we have all these students from the community coming to our program during the summer for this short 2 weeks robotics camp, just so they can have some experience with the robotics because they didn't have that kind of opportunities. We also see a lot of elementary schools that have, for example, First Lego League is a type of robotics competition, but it's limited to 10 students. And usually one school has one team. And that really restricts that pool of students that are interested in doing robotics, but there's only 10 that they can choose from. So oftentimes, unfortunately, they limit it to the GT students or the gifted and talented students. And that really restricts it from other students wanting to be involved in things like this.
So where did you get the money for the Maker Van?
So I guess the start funds for getting this 40-foot container, we actually came across very lucky from a past project I worked on with making a mobile concert stage. So it used to be actually used as a concert stage.
Yeah. Everybody should have one.
Right, containers will open up and act as an off-grid concert stage.
Lots of electronics inside, a lot of sound equipment, right? Yeah.
Oftentimes they'll have loud generators to power all the concert equipment,
but
they don't like that at music events. So one of the past project that I had the opportunity to work on, we made this 40-foot container. Unfortunately, after that one event, it hasn't been used for about 2-3 years. So I put one and one together and brought in the 40-foot container and say, hey, we're trying to do this with this new nonprofit organization.
What is that? Is that a picture of it?
Yes, this is the picture of that.
This is the concert stage piece now?
40-foot. So this actually used to be a concert stage where the walls will come down and become a concert platform. And they would do music events and emceeing on it. And after it was used at that one event, it was in a storage facility for a very long time. And I was like, hey, it would be great if we can use something like this for a different purpose. And we actually decided to retrofit it into a makerspace and make it so students can benefit from this wonderful
So you can take a concert stage and make it into a makerspace. I suppose you can take a makerspace and make it into a concert stage.
There are activities using maker equipment to make music. 3D printers often make very interesting noise when they start printing.
Interesting.
So that is a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, so who helps you with the money part of it? This isn't something you can do without money.
So right now we're looking really out to the local community for help. A lot of the contacts that we have with the local community, we're making them right now. And again, the nonprofit, we recently started the nonprofit. Is that a
makerspace or a concert stage?
That was when it was used as a concert stage.
Yeah, I think I see.
We're
that, yeah.
right on that starting line right now, and we're really looking for the community for help on a space like this that will really benefit the students of this community.
You mean contributions?
We're looking for all contributions, not just financial support, but also the community support. We're actually
volunteers
as well. We're actually already have a set event date. We'll be actually participating in the upcoming Children's and Youth Day at the state capitol on, I believe it was October. It's the first Sunday of October.
Okay.
We have a Children's and Youth Day. It's an event that happens at the state capitol every year, and there's about 4,000 students or youth of this community that gathers up the state capitol. They have the Ronald McDonald bounce houses, and they have like the Combine the Kids, the YMCA is there, Boys and Girls Clubs is there. They have like rock climbing. So we're actually going to be trading this 40-foot container there as well, and we'll be doing a small demonstration to show what we're planning to do.
As a maker container.
As a maker space.
So you can have the kids come up and take a look at it and maybe make things even.
Yeah, so we'll have small activities as well, so the kids can kind of benefit from that. And then hopefully that will generate more interest in the community and generate more supporters for our program to eventually grow this and maybe eventually create more than one of these units to have at different islands.
Yeah,
and,
you just have to get more people to provide more money and more volunteers to run these things, and then you can. It sounds like there's a need and a desire out there in the community, not only in Oahu but other islands too. And what's your goal with all of this? It sounds like you're putting in plenty of time and energy, and you have been. What's your goal with these makerspaces?
Well, definitely, these makerspaces are to create that opportunity for students. I had the opportunity, luckily, through high school to be involved in a robotics program, and I know
it's for robotics.
Right. Well,
But what about,
that
what
was
about
just one of
makerism
many
in general? Yeah.
one of
I mean,
many
it's
opportunities.
robotics is a small thing.
Exactly. Robotics is often misunderstood. We've been recently calling it, don't say the R word, because a lot of people get a misconception when you use the R word because they think of battle bots immediately or kids just building robots. But it's really about creating these activities and opportunities that, because the kids are not just building robots, they're learning how to be more professional when they present. They're being more entrepreneurship, like they're starting to create business plans, and we're really creating kind of a global citizen in that sense. And I feel like makerspace is one of many activities like robotics to give these kids these opportunities, and I just hope that our organization can create more of these opportunities for more kids in our community.
Yeah. Okay, when we come back, I'm going to ask you how this all fits with your program at UH in the engineering school. I'm going to ask you how it fits with DOE, who, you know, some people say, no names now, that DOE should be doing all of this stuff. Why is it necessary for Eric Teshima to do it, okay? That's just a question.
Great.
When we come back, we're going to deal with these questions. Okay, that's Eric Teshima. He's with ImagineWorks, and I have a list of all the other companies he's with. He's very active. I understand he doesn't sleep. He's got a lot of plans in his life. Here on Business Education Spotlight, and I'm Jay Fidell, substituting for Alice Lee Hagen. We're talking about, yes, imagination works. You'll see when we come back.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on Think Tech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on Think Tech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
Okay, we're back. We're here with Eric Teshima. He's with ImagineWorks. He's with Kishimura Industries. He's with Renewable Energy Consultants. And he's with Innovatech. Did I catch them all? There's probably more.
No,
that's it.
That's
okay,
good.
for now. Okay, so I don't know how you do this by being a full-time student at Holmes Hall with the engineering school, but maybe you can tell me how this integrates with your, you know, your student work there.
Well, I was involved in the robotics program at Kalani High School and graduated 2012, and that kind of first gave me that segue into the engineering realm of, okay, maybe at college I'll study electrical engineering, and I got a lot of scholarships also because of my involvement with the robotics program there. So I guess it's about, again, creating that kind of opportunity for all these kids, is trying to inspire kids to become not just engineers, of course, but just giving them the opportunity to try different things in programs like robotics and this makerspace that we're trying to create, and really grasp their interest. And of course, I'm going through all the schooling and going through my third year at college, and you know, doing all my finals and my testing as well, and enjoying my summer break.
You're going back to school in a few days, aren't you?
Yes, in a few weeks actually. One more week,
okay.
2 weeks.
Okay.
And I felt like going to school locally here. I had some choices to go to the mainland when I graduated back in 2012, but I decided, because some of the financial opportunities I had here in Hawaii, I decided I will stay here in Hawaii.
All these companies I just listed.
Right, and then to stay here and work on some of the opportunities here back at home. And one of the reasons why I do a lot of the stuff that I do here, and trying to get more renewable energy business from Japan here to Hawaii, or from around the world to here in Hawaii.
Let's unpack that. First, renewable energy. Now, robotics and renewable energy, not exactly the same thing. Somewhere in the past 3 years at Holmes Hall, you're an electrical engineering student, so you got into renewable energy. So tell me your thoughts and aspirations about renewable energy. Are you going to make $1 million, billion? What?
Well, just so we don't get away from the topic of things, I guess renewable energy, I feel like there's a big demand and there's a big need in the state of Hawaii especially, and there's a lot of opportunities that can happen here, and that's why it's one of the many projects I work on right now that I feel it's a great way to keep jobs here in Hawaii and then to bring jobs here to Hawaii. Unfortunately, I feel like oftentimes students, when they graduate high school, they feel like they have to go to the mainland, or even my colleagues that are starting to graduate college now, they feel like they have to go to the mainland for jobs. And I feel like that's very unfortunate because we need these bright minds to stay here in Hawaii to help Hawaii's cause and to help Hawaii's economy. So I feel like the things that I do today, such as the nonprofit organization ImagineWorks and trying to create more renewable energy business here in Hawaii, is to create something for Hawaii so people stay here in Hawaii. And that's
so are you studying renewable energy at Holmes Hall?
I'm in the undergraduate program for electrical engineering, so they don't necessarily study
required
electrical
courses,
energy,
but
required courses. There are required courses that I take to get my undergraduate degree, and once I do that, then I'll be able to choose more freely if I decide to stay for graduate school.
You might do that. You might go for graduate work then.
Depending on what kind of research I think will be available and where I would be at that time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always say that the guy who figures out how to make a battery that can, they can take a charge from renewable energy, can make Bill Gates look like a piker.
There's a lot of that actually already starting to come out. There's a lot of need because of electric vehicles that are starting to become a big thing in Hawaii as well. More and more I see Leafs, Nissan Leafs, and the Tesla vehicles running on the streets here in Hawaii. Yeah. And I myself actually drive a Nissan Leaf. So,
oh, do you? Okay.
I try to drive what I preach usually.
Yeah, good.
And we're trying to figure out ways to make that more of a mainstream kind of thing here.
So, I mean, how do you see renewable energy fitting into your entrepreneurial aspirations here?
Well, definitely renewable energy. There's a lot of things here in Hawaii that are in place, such as the Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative Act. There was a law that was passed a few months ago saying Hawaii will reach 100% renewable energy goal by a certain year. And I feel like things like that are happening here in Hawaii, mostly because of economical needs, or if we continue to rely on fossil fuels, then Hawaii will go bankrupt by 2030 or 2040. So they said, oh, we have to do something about that.
Yes, well, Puerto Rico is going bankrupt,
So they're kind of getting forced
It's not a state like Hawaii, but it is
so,
$82 billion of debt going bankrupt.
But, I mean, I guess luckily we have that kind of situation here in the state of Hawaii and a need, and I feel like there's a lot of business opportunities that will come abroad.
You want to be part of that?
And yeah, I would like to be a part of that. And then I was able to actually tie in some of the stuff that I do with the renewable energies into this current nonprofit that we started. One was the 40-foot solar-powered off-grid container, which was actually a past project that I worked on with this renewable energy technology, and we actually got that donated after one event to our organization to use as
a maker container.
Yeah, to use as a maker container.
And okay, and so you could make containers that do a lot of things if you can power them. So what's the relationship between the maker container and your work at the engineering school?
So I work closely with actually the assistant dean of College of Engineering, and we're trying to
Sung Choi,
right? I'm pretty sure you have him
he's
here
a
a couple
very
times.
active thinker.
And he's a very active thinker. He's very, very active in the robotics programs as well. And that's how I got to meet him, and he actually judged me in some of the presentations as well.
Perfect. Shout out to Sung Choi. All right, Sung, another one, yeah.
So he's always been giving us opportunities to go out into the public, into the community, with the work collaboration with the College of Engineering at the University of Hawaii, and different opportunities to work with the college and the school level.
So this is really, the ImagineWorks is really very closely related to your work, your undergraduate work at UH.
I think it comes hand in hand. I mean, our community here is very, very small, so there's not too many, I believe that especially in the robotics and the engineering and this ImagineWorks, everything is kind of hand in hand. Everybody, it's the same players in the same room.
That's
so
true, that's true.
We've always been working with the same kind of group of people here.
Okay, so now let's go through some of the other ones. ImagineWorks, I think we have a handle on that. It's a nonprofit, and it runs the maker containers. What about Kishimura? Did I get this right? Kishimura Industries.
So Kishimura Industries is some of the work that I do outside of the nonprofit, and then that's the one that deals with renewable energy consulting. Majority of the work that we do is consulting for solar powered type projects, and we bring in a lot of.
You're a junior in college and you're consulting?
We are I consult with my partner that I started the business with,
Okay.
who has been doing the renewable energy consulting for the last 35 years in Japan, actually.
Okay.
So I kind of became the liaison to connect business from Japan to Hawaii and showing, hey, Hawaii, look at all the things going out here in Hawaii and all the changes that are happening here. Hey, Japanese businesses, are you
That's
interested
cool.
in bringing
That's
some of your guys' projects
And
here?
never too young to consult, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Kishimura doing right now? Is it consulting with Japanese companies right now?
Yes, actually, Mr. Kishimura is actually in Japan right now, consulting with some of the clients there right now and trying to bring interest to Hawaii. I'll be actually flying out to Japan next week as well for a short period of time.
And you're going to be
work with
consulting on technical electrical engineering questions, renewable engineering questions?
Yes, we will be. A lot of it is showing the opportunities that we have here in Hawaii. For example, the electric vehicle boom. So then we're having a great demand for more charging stations. So how do we bring in the tech from Japan to Hawaii to say, here's tech that doesn't break down after 1-2 years. Here's tech from Japan that would help fuel some of the stuff here in Hawaii as well.
Can I give you a suggestion, Eric? Take a look at the new Sony batteries.
We actually work closely with Sony Hawaii as well. We've consulted with them in the past, and their batteries are extremely well made and a very great battery. The only downside to it is the cost that comes with it.
Expensive,
It's a very expensive battery. So we're always looking for our needs of our client based on their budget and then also what their need and demand is for their project.
Now, those batteries are for renewable energy for your house or maybe your business. They're modular. We had a show about them last week because Blue Planet Energy is now selling them, although they didn't say how much it cost. How much do you understand one of those units would cost?
I don't have the exact number. I think they have different numbers for different people because.
Was it 1.2 kilowatt hours? Yeah.
I believe that's the technical number, but from our experience working with those type of battery, we actually had it featured on the solar truck at one point at one of the concerts. It was a joint project with them, so we had the battery rack sitting in the container of our stage and saying, "This is the Sony new battery."
You're way ahead.
And at the time, it was like these batteries are great, and we were going to put that actually in the solar container, but again, it was like a cost balance, and it was a very expensive investment to make. But those batteries.
How much is very expensive?
I think those batteries goes anywhere, depending on how much capacity, of course. But for our applications, we were almost quoted like 50,000, 100,000 for just the battery system alone. So that was very expensive.
One unit or a series of units?
It was a series of units.
And so what is the magic? There's a magic sauce in these batteries. It's not, what do you call it? It's not the customary advanced battery. It's got another element in it. Are you familiar with that?
Well, battery technology is constantly evolving. That's one type of battery. There's also saltwater batteries that are coming out. There's gel-type batteries that are also available. That doesn't matter what orientation it is. It's often used in aircrafts. So batteries are constantly evolving in that sense. And I feel that for a consulting standpoint, we often recommend the battery type depending on the type of projects that they're very specific for use.
Yeah, but now you're talking about transportation, and transportation really in Hawaii anyway has been left behind as far as renewables are concerned. We don't have, I don't know, it's 2,000 or 3,000 cars is all we have. We need more, and we need to deal with the hydrogen possibility also, and charging station issues. We're not there yet. But one thing that will alleviate range anxiety is a better battery, such as you know, a modification maybe or an advancement of the Sony battery that is good for, I believe it's good for photovoltaic on your roof. But if somebody could take the Sony battery and make it into a car battery, whoa, maybe Sony will do that.
Right, there is anxiety on that electric vehicle range. I myself drive a Nissan Leaf, so I do know that there's more need for charging station. But actually, in all reality, battery technologies are advancing so quickly that it's kind of like the flash drive. So flash drive a couple years ago was 6 megabytes, and then it went to 12, 24, 64, and now we're in the terabytes at a very affordable. And that's the rate that
still the same
battery
size.
capacities are actually developing as well. So next year we'll find a battery capacity with the same a little bit different technology that will have double the capacity. But in terms of transportation here in Hawaii, electric vehicles are actually very comfortable to drive because it's such a closed circuit system. We're not talking about trying to transport ourselves from California all the way to New York on one charge, where the farthest that we'll get is to North Shore and then back. And if we have infrastructure where people are able to charge at home and being able to charge at workplace and be able to charge at places where they go, oftentimes we don't realize this, but we only drive a very small fraction of the day we're actually driving. We're actually driving less than 5% of the day we're actually in a vehicle driving. So if you consider that, if it's charging the other 95% of the time you're not using the vehicle, electric vehicle has more than enough capacity currently as it is now to suffice for any transportation needs that we have here in Hawaii.
The problem is they get old.
They do get old.
And you have like $3,000, $4,000 to replace them. Now maybe that price will go down later, and maybe the capacity of those batteries next time you have to buy one will be better. But for the moment, this is a problem with electric cars.
Definitely. I mean, it hasn't been out long enough to actually say that it's going to last this many years. But as of the technology right now, we see it. We're already seeing batteries that are outlasting what we originally predicted, and they're lasting 5, 10 years. And when you consider a vehicle, 5, 10 years is usually the lifespan of a vehicle anyways. And
maybe in your family.
well, it depends on how much you drive it, of course. But I feel like as the infrastructures get better, in terms of, you mentioned hydrogen, for example, as one of the alternatives to vehicle transportation.
I want to hear your thoughts about hydrogen. I also want to hear why we don't put photovoltaic cells on the tops of cars and trickle charge them all the time here in Hawaii. And I want to know if you're involved in that, if you have any ideas or prospects for business in that. Right after this break, it's a cliffhanger. They're all waiting now to hear what you'll have to say. That's Eric Teshima. He's with ImagineWorks and much more. There's 3 or 4 other companies. I don't know when he sleeps, but but he's very interested in electrical engineering and other such things. And we're going to find out more about what he has to think about these frontier ideas when we come back from this break.
Aloha, my name is PJ, and I'm the host of Hawaii Sports Update. I am very interested in local sports, and that's why I host the Hawaii Sports Update show. I bring in guests from Hawaii, I bring in guests from UH, I bring in guests from the community, I bring in big names, I bring in small names, I bring in all names that are community related and doing positive things, sports related in the community. Come join me every Tuesday at 1 p.m. here on Hawaii Sports Update. You can also join me on my golf tournament, the first annual PJ Sports Radio Show golf tournament. It's going to be held at Coral Creek. For any information, go to Think Tech Hawaii, INC, and friend us. The PayPal and a summary of the event will be right there available for you. And don't forget to tweet us.
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here with Eric Teshima. I hope you remember his name, because he's going to be around, he's going to stay here. Am I right? You're going to stay here. Even if you take graduate work, you're going to stay here?
Yes.
He made that promise here on Think Tech. We want him to stay because he's part of a special millennial breed, that is loyal to the state and devoted to the common good and trying to make it a better place to live for everyone, including the students behind him, who he knows will be important in doing what he's doing. So good for you.
Thank you.
We should remember your name, Eric Teshima. Okay, I guess. Okay, so ideas that maybe you've considered. One, hydrogen. Where does that fit in all of this on transportation, in your view? Let's ask that one first. Where does it fit?
So, well, hydrogen, I mean, all of our renewables that we're having right now, solar, wind, geothermal, I think it's definitely a combination of all the different types. And I think that's the same, it goes for the same for vehicle transportation as well. It's going to be a combination of electric vehicles and hydrogen vehicles. But personally, well, myself driving an electric vehicle, I'm more towards the electric vehicle movement. And the reason,
because you own one, you're probably biased.
well, maybe. But then the reason why I believe that the electric vehicles is going to become a lot more prominent is because, well, for example, one infrastructure, we do say that, oh, there's not enough electric vehicle charging station around. But if you think about it, infrastructures in terms of electricity is practically everywhere. There's a plug right behind me right now, and there's electricity infrastructure that we've invested in having on the state of Hawaii, on the island of Oahu. And if you consider hydrogen, we'll have to invest multi-billion-dollar infrastructures to install.
Hydrogen
kind of like
it's using a fuel cell to charge a battery.
Right.
So at the base of it, it's really an electric car with a battery running.
Exactly.
It's the same
so
thing.
it is an electric vehicle, but it's just where does it get the fuel from?
Yeah, but
And
I mean,
then-
so no issue about range anxiety because you just put the fuel cell, what is it, hydrogen in there.
But then
And-
we were required to have stations like gasoline stations, like how we have right now, to have hydrogen fueling stations as
So
well.
why don't we have hydrogen and straight electrical charge at the same station?
Well,
You could make a lot of money with that.
well, personally, I feel like one, gasoline stations are a little bit of history of the gasoline station. Gasoline station, I think, was a very bad investment that was made. A lot of gasoline stations they will
Have
make
gone out of business.
has been going out of business recently because they would have to gut out the container unit for the gasoline tanks every 20 years. So infrastructure, it starts rusting and the container gets old, it'll start leaking. And what it actually does is, once the land was used as a gas station, it's actually been permanently contaminated.
Yeah.
And it can't be used as anything else other than a gas station anymore.
Yeah.
So that's actually another unfortunate
Yeah.
product of a gasoline station. And hydrogen stations also cost multi-million and multi-billion dollars to replace every 20 years to replace the infrastructure, just because hydrogen is very difficult to contain. The containment
to have a new
process
tank in.
was very difficult. So they'll
You
probably
have to put a new
replace,
tank in, is that what you're saying?
they'll probably have to replace the tank very frequently to do that. So in that sense, reinvesting in a hydrogen station will be kind of, I feel like it's going to be the same mistakes that we made with the current gas
I want to get you
stations.
on with the state hydrogen coordinator, Stan Osserman. We call him Stan the Energy Man.
So we've actually worked really closely with DVID and with the electric vehicle movement when they had the electric vehicle department there. And I feel like in terms of infrastructure, again, there's electricity infrastructure already in place, and we can technically have charging stations everywhere we want. And personally, my experience from driving an electric vehicle, as long as I'm being able to charge in the locations where I take my vehicle to, let that be 5 minutes at a
But
cafe
we
that I'm
don't have
stopping
them.
by.
We don't have the charging stations. And there are 2,000 or 3,000 cars among 600,000 cars. And so what went wrong? We haven't been making any significant progress on electric vehicles. What do we have to do, Eric?
I feel like, well, one, it's the concentration of where the state's trying to put the money in and where the direction that we're trying to take this movement. And it's been shifting towards hydrogen vehicles right now. But kind of to put it into perspective, let's say I think the state recently approved funding for a few $1 million to put one hydrogen station at a military base. And imagine if that same $1 million was used in charging station. Charging station costs only about $500, $600 to put one. Imagine if that same resources were
That's
put
the slow charger.
I think
It
that would be a
costs
level
more
two,
if you
level
have the
two
440,
charger.
right?
Yeah. So that's, I think, the level 2 charger. But imagine if that same resource of making one station at one very specific location was used to make charging station at every single convenience store, every single park, public park.
If we're going to do this seriously, we have to have charging stations all over town.
Right.
And you know, my wife isn't going to buy an electric vehicle unless she has zero anxiety.
I definitely feel that's exactly what we need to do. But we really have to, everybody would have to get on that same bandwagon knowing that, okay, this is the goal. But in terms of electricity, infrastructure is already there. It's just, we need to put the outlet that would allow us to.
So suppose you talk to Mr. Kishimura I said, look, Mr. Kishimura, I need the most efficient and small photovoltaic cell you can find. And I, because I'm an electrical engineering student, I know how to put things together with my hands, just like I did, you know, with the makerspace. In fact, we can build some of those widgets with our 3D printers, and we can make this happen. What we're going to do is we're going to mount this highly efficient photovoltaic cell on the top of the car. We're going to insulate it so nobody ever gets hurt. We're going to have a really efficient inverter there, and we're going to trickle charge the battery in the electric vehicle. It could be a Leaf. It could be a modification of existing Leaf design. Okay, and that way we'll always be topped off with electricity in the battery. And he's going to say to you, what is he going to say to you anyway?
Well, definitely solar panels efficiency as it is now. One panel on the roof is not even, it won't even probably budge the electricity in terms of capacity. Solar panels does require a large amount of space, and that's why it's oftentimes seen on household rooftops or a very large parking space. So putting solar panel on top of your vehicle probably isn't going to be, probably is not recommended for the amount of things that you'll get back from it. But even the Leaf right now does have there's small solar panels on the electric vehicles now that charges the auxiliary power battery. So they do have that already, but it's solar panel hasn't come to that kind of efficiency where we can have one panel on top of a vehicle to charge.
Okay, well, give me some hope, give me some comfort. And you can turn to camera 2, okay? And tell the people where you think all this is going to go. What's going to happen with electric vehicles in Hawaii in the next 5 or 10 years? There's your camera.
Definitely within the next 5 to 10 years, I believe, well, one, renewable energies is going to progress far more than where we are right now today. And that's going to be a combination of solar, wind, geothermal, and different types of sources. Transportation as well is going to be a combination, I believe, of electric vehicle and hydrogen. But the technology is starting to develop right now, and a lot of it is going to start changing. And I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunities. Well, one, there's going to be a lot of business opportunities. So I believe that there's a lot of things that's going to happen in Hawaii in the next 5 to 10 years. And I feel like a lot of people have to come back to Hawaii and say, Hawaii's not just about the hula dancers and the beach, but we have a lot more to offer here.
In a way of, well, you know what they say, a community that has abundant and cheap clean energy, or energy of any kind, is a better economy. So we will have a better economy when we have abundant and
well, that's why we hope we can do that, right?
Yeah. Okay, well, okay, so we have to follow you, Eric. We can't just stop the conversation now, because I know you're thinking a lot of things, and you're going to be thinking of more things, and you're going to be going in every direction, so we have to have you back, either through Alice Lee Hagen or otherwise. Okay, thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
It's been a great discussion. I really appreciate talking to you.
Thank you.
Come back soon. Aloha.